morning, everyone. The time now is 10 o'clock a.m. We will now call the September 27th Budget Workshop to order.
Good morning, council members. It's my pleasure to present to you the proposed FY 2020 budget. You have hard copies in front of you, and we'll be projecting on the screen the electronic version which I sent you last evening. Before we get started, I'm just going to take a moment of personal liberty. I might just ask if we can have a moment of silence for Miss Wiggins. She lost her sister this week, and I wanted everyone to know that wasn't included in the email. The reason she's not here today is because her sister's funeral is taking place literally while we'll be doing the work that she helps us do. And I think it only appropriate to just sit in remembrance of her and support prayer for her and her family as they go through this difficult time in their life. Thank you. The very first thing you will find in your before I get to the very first thing you will find, I want to take a moment to explain how the book is broken down. It's broken into three sections. First section you have is section 1, which is the overview. It contains my transmittal letter, which has within it a breakdown of what our present financial status is. We also will have an overview of the budget summaries. Both our annual operating and capital budget are contained in section 1. Section 2 is very important because we have never had that before. And I worked very diligently to see to it that we would adopt the policies and procedures which would represent best practices in accounting. One of the things that I encountered when I took over here in May was that our city administration and our finance department have no written policies or procedures for cash handling, for the way we handle deposits, the way we separate duties. In other words, one person counting the money can't be the person depositing the money. All the things that general accounting practices call for. There's frankly been no structure in the way this city has operated for decades and decades. And all that needed to be addressed. So I want to point out to you that when you adopt this budget, what I'm also asking for you to do is to adopt the policies and procedures contained herein, specifically all those enumerated in section 2 of this book. They're based on sound principle. They meet all the accounting practices that the government calls for, and frankly, it's just good business. What are called generally accepted accounting principles, the acronym GAAP, which you'll find on page 17 in your book. When you get to section 3 are the departmental budget details, and you'll be able to see those in each department is broken down. It talks about the functions of each department. It talks about the number of employees, whether they're full or part-time, the mission statement. You'll have 4 columns in each department, and the columns are your FY 2018 actuals, your budgeted FY 2019, your projected FY 2019, and that's a column that's often misunderstood. Those numbers are projected what we thought we would end up with when we started this process. You have to, the irony is you have to begin to start putting together a the next year's budget before you close out the present fiscal year that you're operating within. So understand that that's just a projection, all right? And you won't actually know what you've done, good or bad, until your audit is done 180 days afterward. So, the fact of the matter, given some of the problems which I enumerated in my letter to you, some of the problems that existed in this city, your middle columns, frankly, were less reliable, meaning your projected FY 2019 budget was put together in the midst of a lot of confusion, high turnover, and the fact that the 2018 actuals weren't put together. So the only thing that the former director had to go on was your 2017 actuals, which were pretty far removed, given that she had to put together a budget in sometime in November of 2018, and it was extremely difficult to do. So what's really most important for you to understand is when I put this budget together, I had to rely on primarily what the 2018 actuals were and what our present balances were in all the accounts. That's what's important for you to understand. At the end of section 3, you will find our capital projects. And they are broken down and they're tied to particular funds with definitive, with specificity, which hasn't been the case in the past. And all these projects now balance with all the funds from which they derive their resources from. That has never been the case in the past. You have had a hodgepodge where your operating budget didn't match with your audit, and your audit didn't match with your CIP or your CIE. Okay? So now all these fund balances and budgets are all tied together, so they make sense, and they're much more easily tracked. I want to point out before I go any farther that the budget that you have in front of you is not the result of my labor alone. It's the result of a lot of hard work by our staff, our department directors, our administrative staff, our financial advisor, and the CPA that we hired to come in and help not only wrap up the FY19 budget, but help prepare the 2020 budget. And part of the policies that you see in section 2 were a result of the discussions that Mr. Walls and Mr. Thomas and I had. The need to have internal audit. A lot of times when you use the term internal audit, everybody thinks a crime is taking place, something is done wrong. But internal audits are designed also to improve efficiencies, find out what you're doing wrong, find loopholes. As I think you will remember when you asked me during my interview, Mr. Byrd, to do what would be my SWOT analysis, what are the strengths and weaknesses of Hampton. Well, one of the strengths and weaknesses that I found in our system here is that we lack policies and procedures. So as Mr. Thomas was getting the numbers from Ms. Shaw and getting a feel for where we were, he was also putting together, making notes, internal audit as far as weaknesses in policies and procedures. And we also scanned the area, Mr. Wall and I did. We wanted to get best practices, so we surveyed other cities in the state of Georgia and came across with the best succinct, appropriate amount of policies and procedures that would put us on good, sound financial footing. So the transmittal letter talks primarily about all the time, and on the first page talks about all the time and effort it took to put this budget together, noting the fact that the city had to overcome a lot of problems in the past. We did not complete the 2018 audit until August. It should have been done by March of 2019, but it was not done. But it took a Herculean effort to get it done. It was done, but that caused a delay in getting this done. Okay.
but we overcame that. So, now, we made a lot of great strides. We wanted to move away, from some of the past practices that frankly weren't the best practices. And we want to move forward towards what are best practices. On the second page, you'll see. Oh, yeah, excuse me. When we were working to put this together, and we wanted to capture all the hopes, dreams, and emotions of this community. And we wanted it to reflect not only the present feeling, but our hopes for the future. And one of the things that we settled on that the staff thought would be best, and we named this budget book that. And the theme for this book is bridging the gap between the past and the present and building toward the future. Everything you see in this book epitomizes that theme. It speaks to it. So we're adding structure and discipline and organization in areas that it did not previously exist. On page 2, you'll see what's being projected now in front of you here. Excuse me, it's 5 in the book, page 2 of my letter. Ed's going to be the grammar. He's going to be my English teacher for the day and correct me as we go.
You ain't gonna get on there.
Yeah, I will eventually. I think it's important for the citizens to understand that the city of Hampton levies no property tax, none whatsoever. All our city operations are funded primarily through 2 revenue streams. They're governmental revenues and they're enterprise revenues. If you look under governmental revenues, these are the categories in which we book our revenues. There are general taxes, which are your loss, your SPLOST, your insurance premiums, tax, your franchise tax, etc. License and permits, your capital grants, your charges for services, your fines and forfeitures, your interest earned, your impact fees. Now, and these impact fees are under governmental revenues, which comes from your general fund. That's on your parks, your public safety, your parks and recreation impact fee. Your enterprise revenues are your wastewater, water, sanitation, electric, interest income, and other revenues. And we're going to have a correction in the book. I think we left off sewer and water impact fees and tap. We should have, we'll have that corrected for the, in the final book, but I just noted we did not include it, which we should. All those revenue sources flow into 6 city funds. So I want you to understand how it comes in and then how it gets budgeted. We flow those revenue sources into 6 city funds. So your general fund, your enterprise fund, your SPLOST fund, your capital grants fund, and capital outlay, hotel, motel tax.
And I could interrupt you a little bit. It's very important that you all of us operate our businesses or our home with one checking account. So if we get gift money from my mom and daddy or brother and sister, if we get a salary, if we sell a boat or a car, everything goes in that one checking account. Cities are different. You have all these different funds. Each fund has to stand on its own. And what's been happening in Hampton is it's not always been rigorously adhered to. Money's been moved about, deposited in different funds. So one of the things that this budget's going to do is help you adhere to fund accounting, what we call it in business. Each fund has to stand on its own. Each fund has to have revenue go in that fund, and each thing has to be segregated. And so these 6 funds is the main building block. Everything about the budget is built on that. Sorry, Ross.
No, that's okay. The city, to this point, and through this day, has conducted all its financial affairs through 22 bank accounts. When I first came here, I was originally told it was 11, then it grew to 15, then it grew to 18, then it went to 21, and right when we went to put the book, started working on putting the book together, we found out that there was a 22nd bank account. Wow. Those institutions, they're held at 3 banking institutions. Those institutions are FNB, Fidelity, and Regions. Now, the 22nd account, I want to point out, I think that was done as a good protective measure by the finance director. The Regions account is just simply a sweep account in which Henry County deposits, they send our cut of the SPOS revenue goes into the Regions account, sweeps out of the Regions account, and sweeps to our bank. It was done more as a security measure in case there was a breach of security on Henry County's end. It wouldn't creep into our system. If you go on page 6 of your book, you will see all the bank accounts and the balances and how they are, how they're totaled. And I want to focus here for just a minute, and Mr. Wall will come back, and I want to draw your attention. Mr. Wall will add greater focus later on to his comments. I want to focus, or bring your attention to 2 certificates of deposit, which are totaling $2.149 million. They're at Fidelity. Also, another one that was, that caught my attention, which I was unaware of when I was hired, is that we have a sewer debt relief account at FMB that is in excess of $1 million that has been sitting there. Our total operating budget that we had, as these are balances as of September 25th, 2019. Total cash on hand, $13,547,000. That doesn't account for projected SPOS revenues, which we have yet to collect, which we will be collecting at a tune of about $181,000, I believe, between now and March of 2020. So this, what the balances you see on page 6 is only what our balances are as of the 25th of September. So, what are we calling for in this budget? Well, before we get to that, I want to point out that the 2 certificates of deposit, I'll let Mr. Wall talk about what it earns and doesn't earn, and what we could be earning, and what we've had an opportunity to earn in the past, and we have missed, and we hope to rectify going forward.
Thank you, boss. If you look on page 7 of the budget, the second paragraph, Mr. Cleveland talks about the $2.1 million in 2 CDs. One's earning 0.45%, and one's earning 0.4%. And the going rate at a money market account that the state of Georgia manages on behalf of itself and all local governments is called the Office of the Treasury of the State of Georgia, Georgia Fund 1. It used to be called the Local Government Investment Pool. Many cities and counties participate in it. It's a money market account. You want your money tomorrow, you just let them know by the day at 2 o'clock, and they'll wire it to your checking account. And it's a money market account. And a CD has a set maturity date. So these CDs, one at 0.45, matures March of next year, and the other one, 0.40, matures next September. So you can't get your money out of a CD early, you have to pay a penalty about it. But with the money market, you get anytime you want, just let them know by the day at 2, and you get it the next day. The state of Georgia LGIP had been earning 2.4% a year for most of this year. Y'all know the Federal Reserve lowered rates twice in the last couple months, and the rate has fallen to 2.2% for the month of September. And so you could invest that $2.1 million when it matures and get 2.2% rather than 0.5, 4, 5, and 4. So the extra amount you would earn on just that $2 million alone is the extra $114,000 a year. And you all have a fund balance in your general fund of $7 million, and only this $2 million is earning interest. And so part of the point of this budget is we're going to consolidate a lot of those accounts and get you earning a high rate of interest on all your money, not just some.
See, I want to correct something Mr. Wall said. I know this is normally your number, but I believe we're presently on the $2 million. We're presently earning only $10,784. We could have been earning on that we earned only $10,784 in interest. We could earn $47,450. The $114,000 number he gave you
That's on the other side.
was on the other $5 million. So I just want to make sure that that's clear, that you didn't think we could earn the $114,000 on the $2 million. But if we invested the other $5 million that's laying around and hadn't been earning, we could be earning.
Good morning, Mr. Bishop, we're on page 7 of the book.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Mr. President, the interest that we earn now, if any won't be money, if we had to put it in the right account, on that interest, how much you'll say money we missed out?
$100,000 a year.
Yeah, we could have been earning another $100,000. Of course, as it fluctuates, Mr. Wall said, the interest rate was higher. It's now dropped to 2.2. The numbers you have in front of you on page 7 are based on today's interest rates. So it's a difficult question for you to ask, because number one, the balances change, but most of this money has been on reserve for years. So it could have been, unless I went back through the whole financial history, so how long those balances were at that level and what the rates were. But as a general number, I would say that the $100,000 a year that Mr. Wall gave you is a safe number.
Okay, but when the interest rate was high, we could have earned more. When it dropped, we earned less, but at least we would have earned something. Whenever it went up or down, we still would have had it in the right place to earn money. Right?
Correct.
But I know the Feds, they dropped the interest rate 2 or 3 days ago, whatever.
Yes.
It's down now.
Right, so it was 2.4, and because the Fed lowered the rates, it has fallen to 2.2.
Right.
Will it fall any more? I don't know. Will it go up? I don't know. But right now, it's 2.2. If you're earning a fixed rate on those CDs of 0.45 and 0.4.
Right, but that's been a fixed rate all the time.
Yes, it
Never-
has.
We didn't have to be, we could have had, put in another way for it, under interest money, as it goes up or down, we would have been earning something, it would have been no 0.4.
That's correct, sir.
So one of the things this budget's gonna call for, excuse me, I'm sorry. Well, one of the things we're gonna call for, we can't do it with the adoption of this budget. Well, I guess we can in this regard. When we go through this process, we all want to be in one accord. You can't take the money out of the CDs right now, because as Mr. Wall said, we don't want to pay the penalty, right? But we hired a long-term financial strategist to assist me in doing precisely what he's done. We've uncovered these anomalies, let's say, and we found a better way to do it, so.
Who's that? Who's that?
Mr. Wall, we hired him for a specific reason, and to help give us long-term advice, strategic advice on investment policy. So, the recommendation.
I want to compliment y'all for building up the cash balance. It's wonderful that we've got money to earn interest on. It's just that because we haven't had a lot of order and structure in the finance department, you haven't been getting every dollar that you could get. That's only my point.
Well, what I'd like to follow up and say is that at some point during the year, as soon as the CDs mature, then that's when we're gonna wanna move it to another one. You can't, acknowledging you can't do it. Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to, I understand about the CDs, that that's the 2.1 million that we're talking with the CDs, but this 5.2, are we looking to move that immediately to interest-bearing account?
Yeah, when we get through with this presentation and adopt this budget, we're gonna go through every step of the way and show you how it's gonna be done. That's the purpose of this presentation, this workshop, so we can, everything that I've done in organizing our work effort to get us to this point was to lay out an unvarnished view of where we are, so everyone understands where we are. Kind of say, here's where it is, and this is where we need to go, and this is how we're going to get there, so that everyone knows we're all in one course, all right? So we're gonna get to the plan a little later on in the presentation.
Can I ask one more question regarding something that you said? You said we had 22 accounts,
Yes.
and we're gonna try to condense them down to these 6.
We're gonna condense them, Mr. Wall will show you that a little later on. We have a slide that'll show you how and where. Those are funds, don't get funds confused with bank accounts.
Right.
Okay, funds are different, I mean, those are accounting terms, you want me to explain them?
So, if you just look back on page 6, Ms. Charlton, so, pretty much, you take the hotel motel tax, see that right there, 28,000, that's gotta be its own fund.
Right.
And then, you look up there at the Parks and Rec impact fee, 219,000, that's got to be its own account, because it's segregated. And, you could put all that in one bank account and just make sure that finance department keeps good records and balances a checkbook every month so that you don't ever spend it. I want to tell you an anecdotal story. DeKalb County's been a client of mine since 1985. And, DeKalb, when the recession hit in '08, DeKalb has 48 different funds. It's like 48 funds. They put all of it in one bank account at Wells Fargo. Well, when the recession hit in '08, '09, '10, remember the tax digest fell down, things going. Well, so in March of 2011, at the DeKalb's fiscal year, the calendar, December 31, in March 2011, it was discovered when the auditor comes in to do their audit report, that in fact they've spent $40 million of restricted money because their revenues from sales tax and property tax had fallen so dramatically by 42%. And they didn't know it because they hadn't been balancing their monthly checkbook. So every time they needed to pay salaries or whatever, they look in that one big Wells Fargo bank account. It had plenty of money, so they cut checks, everything could go. But because they weren't rigorously balancing the checkbook and putting things to appropriate funds each and every month, as the revenues fell, they didn't know it. And so they were spending money they shouldn't spend. And so, until we get a brand new CFO and we feel real confident about our abilities to keep the books and records straight, I will recommend to the city manager that y'all keep separate bank accounts for restricted money until we make sure that we got somebody and we have a robust thing. The city manager talked to you later today. This budget's gonna become a great tool for y'all to manage the city. Monthly, y'all gonna get a report. It's gonna be a month to month and a year to date against your budget, so you can manage it. And so, if you look at these accounts here, this probably, that park and rec fee, that's gonna be its own checking account. But if you look at this operating account, $1,965,000, and then the soil and sandy road, and going down Main Street check at $5,498, and going down money market, $913, service upgrade, infrastructure, all that can be consolidated into one account. And banks for businesses generally charge a fee. So we're gonna, I don't know how much we'll save, but by consolidating into one account instead of so many, we'll be saving banking fees too.
I'm gonna ask you a question. You said something about 21 or 22 bank accounts,
Yes.
and I wasn't aware we had that. I don't know if the other members was aware of it. If you're doing the budget, and you don't have all these accounts in the budget, how will they balance the budget?
Well, so that's a great, we can't speak a lot about the past, but
Okay,
going
but-
forward,
but-
everything's gonna be balanced.
But you couldn't balance the budget because you didn't have all the accounts.
Yes.
But they didn't never put that, we had the auditor to do it,
Right. but
they never told us that you had that we had those many accounts.
Right.
Some of them, we just found out.
Well,
So, wasn't it last year, a budget was hard to get to and it was late, and then y'all have a hard time with the budget last year?
I'm talking about the years before then, when I came in, the budget.
But I mean, wasn't there
Yeah.
some rigmarole about that?
Yeah.
I want y'all to know, this fella and the city staff, we've been here 10, 12 hours a day, working hard to get this budget out to you. It was a difficult task. I've been doing this 35 years. And, y'all have plenty of money. You're in good financial shape, but you couldn't hardly tell it. stuff's everywhere. And so we've had a Herculean task of bringing order and structure. And what you've got is good to go, and it's right, and it's order and structure. But it was very haphazardly done, and you all, we're interviewing CFO candidates. Going forward, it's gonna be tight, and you're gonna get a report every month. And, I just, it's important for you to know what it is now, and you'll see how it's gonna move forward with this budget.
I got one
So-
more question, or before we move, I'm sorry. Because you said something, I'm trying to figure out about the audit. And so, these are some deficiencies that was never presented in the audit.
Yes, ma'am.
What term did we use? So we need to change that.
Can you put a pin in that, we'll come back to it?
Okay,
But it's a very good point.
okay.
So, I want to highlight, what the notable goals and objectives of this 2020 budget are, okay? In the past, our budgets did not match our operating accounts. The annual audits did not tie to the budgets. Hence, the mayor, council, and management of the city did not have accurate financial data to manage the financial affairs of the city, much less proactively plan for the future. And part of that future has to be dealing with decaying infrastructure, sewer lines, telephone poles that have not been replaced in years and years, power line poles that need to be replaced. Now, there's a lifespan. You have to reinvest in your capital infrastructure. Our main source of income besides the loss fund is the resale of electricity and water. Now, unlike the past, this budget has been structured in such a manner that it will match the cash operating accounts and will tie to the annual audit. Your audit is only as good as the information that's provided to the auditor, okay? Mr. Wall can speak more definitively about that. This budget's gonna be we'll be able to monitor monthly where we're at so that the numbers are real, as opposed to spaghetti that got thrown up against the wall and hope what sticks, okay? We're gonna know that the numbers we have are true. A primary goal of this audit, which this budget, and what I tasked Mr. Wall and assisted me with, was to eliminate the sewer surcharge. So in this budget, we're recommending, and we have funded, the elimination of the sewer surcharge, which would save the customers of this city $450,000 a year annually.
Thank you.
Number two, we're recommending that planning and zoning and GIS support be brought back in-house from Henry County, which will allow for a property rollback of property tax rollback to the property owners of Hampton. That's part of our SDS negotiation, which we're in mediation with and may end up going to litigation over. But one of the, I want us to do what the other cities have done, have their own planning and zoning GIS support in-house rather than us have to pay a portion of the millage for those services to Henry County. In addition to saving our citizens some money on their county property tax, the process will be much faster and smoother for us. We'll have our own, and I'll get to how we're going to do it. The person that we have presently on staff is more qualified than anybody presently working or has worked at Henry County, and has all the certifications, qualifications, and the ability to help us implement our own comprehensive plan, which you guys have passed, in our own future planning for the city. And the process will be much swifter, and we'll be able to get a turnaround and answers and more accurate information before you as a council, so you can make decisions on important zoning matters. So this budget calls for filling for that. We are also recommending the addition of 2 electrical linemen and one wastewater treatment plant, wastewater treatment plant Class 1 position, and a vacant wastewater Class 3 position. It's important for you to know that when we went through this process, I met with each department director and asked them to identify critical needs. It is in, the wastewater treatment plant Class 1, that's a position that had already been approved, it's been on the books, it just has not been filled. When the former director, for those that don't know, new members, I had to learn this, Mr. Spagnons explained to me that wastewater was a separate division from Public Works, and when that director retired, Mr. Spagnons had that whole department added to his duties, okay? And the council, mayor council at that time just left that position unfunded. So we have a wastewater employee who he's a Class 2, but he's the only one that has a certification that tests our water, and he hasn't had a 1-week vacation in 9 years, because he's the only one in the city that has the certification. And this man is so dedicated that he has to work around taking 3- and 4-day vacations here or there, because he's the only one that has a certification. He has to do these testing. He can only go so many days without testing the water. And so this is a critical need. Same thing with the wastewater Class 3 position. That was already approved, but it's unfilled, so we're calling for that to be filled. The 2 electrical linemen, Mr. Spraggins says, we only have 2. They're fellows that are getting closer and closer to retirement. Excuse me?
We have 3?
We're calling for 2, the addition of 2, okay?
Somebody had 3 current.
Yes.
I believe we have 3 current. The 2 of them are getting closer to retirement. We need to train and when they go, they're gonna take with them a host of institutional knowledge with them. And it's tough, yeah. And frankly, if you think about it, we're providing electricity to the city, and I've heard complaints from, at community meetings from the citizens when they talk about, well, the power went out, how long did it take to get the power back on? Well, when you only rely on 3 people to handle a 24/7 nonstop service delivery, it's a little bit, logistically, it's a little unfair to expect them to never get a day off, never get a night's rest, be on call constantly. So we think it's justified, and we're able to fund it. We also are recommending reclassification of one of the administrative assistants in City Hall, to reclassify that person to executive administrative assistant, so they can help with the procurement processes that I've started to put in place, so that we can start speeding up getting these projects out the door. We've had a backlog of projects here that it's interesting. We've been collecting SPLOST money for 5.5 years, and we've only completed about $1.5 million or $1.6 million worth of, maybe $1.8 million worth of projects. And we've been collecting for years. We've also had a bunch of capital projects that haven't gone out. So that position we're asking to be reclassified. This only goes up a few $1,000s a year. We're also calling for the addition of an accountant in the finance department. Our finance department handles, hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars that come in, both in tax dollars and utilities through our enterprise. The only person that had any accounting qualifications whatsoever was the former finance director that was here. And it was, it was interesting to me because the history of the city has been a quiet, small little town, and you operated with the mayor and the council and the clerk. And prior to you hiring Ms. Shaw, you never had a finance director. But the staff, they're good staff. I mean, they're hard working, and they've learned what they've been taught. But you need to have a backup. You need to have someone to help assist. Your CFO can't be doing all the day-to-day work. They need to be thinking more longer, that there's a ton of work that isn't being done or couldn't be done by your former director, like doing analysis of trends. Are we trending downward on revenue, upward on revenue, or are the department heads staying within their budget? Are we keeping them in check? None of that could be done because she was so tied up literally doing task level work that if she'd have had someone on staff with an accounting, background, that was certified accountant, that could have assisted her in that day-to-day booking of the account. So we're calling for that.
I'm in here. Looking for additional content in the finance department, right?
Correct.
So you have like four people will be there.
Yeah, their service is all they are customer service technicians. They have no accounting or bookkeeping qualifications.
So when are you planning to fill the finance director position?
Excuse me?
When are you planning to fill that position?
We're interviewing today. We've already done first round of interviews. We've screened candidates. We've done the first round of interviews. We're calling back 4 candidates today for a second round of interviews.
Okay.
So the other thing that this budget calls for is the hiring of a new IT manager so that we can establish an IT department. We're presently relying on contract services with Liberty Technologies. We're paying a base rate of $6,500 or $6,800 per month to provide computer technology services, which is, I mean, that's just base rate. That's what we cut a check for. So, the IT position, and that doesn't count add-ons when they come on and provide stuff. The IT manager, if you have the right person, I would like to see us hire the same skill set that we had when I was at Clayton County, where your IT manager manages all your technology. It's gonna handle your phone system, which we're going to cloud-based phone system, handle all your mobile accounts, and help with the audit of our equipment. Like when I came here, I was stunned that there were no inventory control measures in this place. People could walk out of here with a laptop, a PC, a tablet. None of that was under any barcode. None of it had been, no inventory control. It was madness. Your IT manager would be able to manage all that, manage all your data, manage everything that you have technologically. Plus, their loyalty is to the city that cuts their check, not to the for-profit company for which they work that has a multitude of customers. And that's a distinct difference. I think we'll get a much better service by bringing IT in-house.
If you're going to further on IT, with an IT prospect will be able to do the same function as Liberty but more.
Absolutely. They'll be here and be able to maintain. We're particularly concerned, I mean, Liberty, I'm not gonna knock them, I'm just saying I'm gonna give you some examples, okay? In your basic contract, your service agreement with them, they say that they will respond within 4 hours. And a reasonable with 4 to 8 hours, okay? 4 to 8 hours. Okay? Now, you call at 11 o'clock, you're not getting them until the next day. We run a 24/7 operation. 24/7. Your police department doesn't sleep. You get a technological problem that goes through on the weekend, pray tell how is that going to be dealt with? It won't until Monday afternoon. Miss Atwater waited 3.5 weeks for a printer to be delivered here. And the only thing that caused them to come to heel is when I didn't deliver their check, and I held it up for 3.5 weeks to send a message. Then all of a sudden, we got attention.
So question to you, with an IT manager, that is expected it would be less cost
Correct.
in terms of previous years and years today, Liberty.
Right. If you do, it's $6,800 a month.
With,
Times 12. Yeah.
81,600.
And that's base rate. Now, they do add-ons when they come out, if you're gonna call them on a weekend, if you're gonna pay a premium, if they come here and they do this or that. I was stunned at the price they wanted to give us to charge us for a 10-foot cord that I could've gone to Walmart and bought, you know, for about $3. We're gonna end up paying about $12.50 plus a delivery fee. So it's just I mean, I'm not, they're in the business to make money, okay? Our job is to deliver the best service possible for the lowest amount of money, okay? So, you know, I'm not knocking them, I'm just saying there's a better way to do it, to save tax dollars that could be spent elsewhere. So that's what we're calling for. I wanna move along and hit the rest of the highlights, and then we can get into the details.
Before we do it, we get a new IT department, can they get me to do one of these things?
Yeah, get out of here. So, the other thing that we had to deal with, and, we have a gentleman here, in Ms. Atwater will introduce later on, we have had to grapple with, and this budget had to face head-on, a problem that you were not aware of. We've had a 15% increase in employee health benefits, and, that is because we're a small pool. I don't want to steal his thunder. He'll explain to you what caused the jump in the rates. For health insurance, we provide health insurance for the employees. As single coverage, the employees don't pay anything. And, so this budget has grappled with that problem head-on, and we've provided you a balanced budget. Now, it is also calling for a 3% cost of living increase for all the employees, should you and the mayor choose to grant that increase.
How much that cost?
It's gonna cost about $120,000, to provide that 3% increase.
Is this budget including that?
It does. The, what I do wanna point out is, unlike past years, the FY 2020 budget has been funded and balanced without using any of the city's general fund reserves. All capital outlay items have been funded with SPOS, impact fees, and expected FY 2020 revenue. The city's worked hard in the past to save money, and the general reserves are equal to 183% of FY 2020 general fund expenditures. In the event of any negative event like a recession, the city is well prepared to weather any storm. So, without any further ado, I want to turn over the rest of section 1 to Mr. Wall, who will kind of explain to you what you'll find on pages 11. Going forward, he'll take you through the fund summaries, okay?
Thanks, sir. Before we get to pages, yes, sir.
Can I get everybody to turn their phones off? Don't even put it on vibrate, just put it on silent, so that he's not interrupted. And then I'd like to also ask for us to take notes of any questions we have, and then we'll address it at the end of his presentation, so that we can let him speak without being interrupted, but then be able to expedite it. Otherwise, we're gonna be here all day. It's not rocket science, so if you don't mind, let's go, please. Okay, go ahead.
Page 11 is the general fund budget summary. If I could get you to look at the first column, 2018. We had $4,205,000 in revenues. We were transferring $129,000 from the enterprise fund. And at the bottom, we had $3.5 million in expenditures. If I could get you to look at the budget FY 2020. We have $4,035,000 in revenues, we have $43,000 transferred from the enterprise fund. We have $4,035,000 in expenses, the $4,035,000 in expenses, and the $4,035,000 in revenues match. It's a balanced budget. And then toward the bottom, you can see the impact fees that are expected, public safety impact fee and Parks and Rec impact fee. And then look at the second from the bottom line, all that's transferred to capital projects fund for capital. So if you could,
Let me interject
Yes, sir.
just for a minute. I just want to keep this one number in your head. We took a conservative view. These impact fees are based on your fee schedule and our projection of 75 homes, no commercial, 75 homes coming online in FY 2020. Okay? Now, you'll be able to see that the impact fees I don't, there were none projected for, let's see, did she put it in here?
Just a week.
Yeah, yeah.
23.
You can see what the FY 18 actuals are, and you can see what our 2020, projections are. So we're not projecting anything crazy here, okay?
And then this is a 35,000 foot look at it. So you can see a $4 million general fund budget. You know, got $7.5 million in general fund reserve. There was 183,000 that Mr. Healy was talking about. And, the budget's balanced, only 43,000 coming from the enterprise fund. The detail is gonna be later on in the book. Normally I'd say if y'all have any questions, but you don't want me to let y'all ask no questions.
No, if you want to ask it, we can ask it.
Okay, I mean, that's up to y'all, I don't want to get crossed up on that. So enterprise fund summary, page 12. The enterprise fund, remember, think about your budgets, you know, we're organizing each thing by fund. And so the enterprise fund, if you see here, wastewater, water, sanitation, and electric. And so you can see we had $6,489,000 in revenues. By far the largest portion of that's your electric system, $3.7 million. Notice, as Mr. Fahey was talking about, the revenues, compare them to 2018. That's the only actual thing we have to compare. You can see they're all in line. Nothing's crazy here. We've been very conservative with your revenue projections. And then you can see your expenses. Total expenses are $6,489,000, so it's balanced. Next paragraph down are your impact fees. There's $614,000, and notice that line item is transferred to capital projects fund. And so what's happened, seemed like in the past, is you've taken this money and you put them in checking accounts, but they ain't been spent. And it looks like y'all had some reserves on some checking accounts in your general fund for capital projects. Why spend general fund money on capital projects when you got this impact fee money that you can do it? And so Mr. Healy had us organize this thing to get order and structure, that the impact fees are immediately transferred to an account called the capital outlay fund. And then we'll bring you a budget that's in here for spending capital outlay money, which is either SPLOST, grants, or impact fees. If you all have a project that you want to do and it's over and above what's in this budget, then you've got money in your general fund to do it if you want to. But what had happened was, like, you were taking this impact fee money and just putting it in the bank, wasn't earning interest, and you wasn't spending. So this is designed to correct that. And then the very last paragraph on this page is real important. One of Mr. Healy's key goals for us as staff was to figure a way to eliminate the sewer surcharge, as they call it. And so you'll see in individual budgets how that has been eliminated. How we're paying for it, you see that sewer debt relief account, you had $1,059,000 just swirled away in one of these 22 checking accounts called sewer debt relief account. And I picked up on, I called Millie Shaw and I said, where'd that money come from? And she said, well, way back when that sewer surcharge was implemented, it was implemented like a couple of years before the debt got borrowed. And so that money's just been sitting there all this time and ain't nobody ever spent it. And so we might as well spend it for debt service and use it for what it was put there for, as sewer debt relief. And it leaves $305,000 balance for next year. And if I could go back up to the page, the expenses, y'all see the enterprise surplus, $531,000. Your utility fund is gonna make a net profit, projected at $531,000. So that $531 together with this $305 will pay all of the debt service next year without using any of your general fund reserves.
Hallelujah. One second. Go back to the 5, where is it at?
You ain't supposed to ask no questions.
I got the 5, yes,
It's all good. I approve it. It's done.
Oh, okay, I see, enterprise fund surplus, I got it.
Sid?
I do.
All right, next page, good, page 13. Let's go to the individual.
Hold it, yes, please, before you get up, let me, if you just go to page 14, just quickly, this is our new org chart, I just wanna highlight this. And then we'll flip through the rest of it and get quickly to, the end. Your new org chart is set up to reflect the way we're presently where I'm hoping that we're gonna be structured. With the economic development director's position open, I'm calling for it not to be funded. We were spending money on Main Street, which Main Street's supposed to deal with downtown development, we have a downtown development authority. Mr. Wall and I both can handle the primary chasing of, businesses coming here, but I think that, I'm calling for leaving economic development director open, let Main Street come under community development. Main Street efforts working with downtown development and bringing economic development to the downtown district. That's how I'm proposing the new org structure look. The rest of, the next section has to do with the fund structure, policies and procedures that I alluded to earlier. You can read them at your leisure between now and the, first reading. And if you have any questions, you can either send me an email about it, or if you like what you like or don't like, or if you think we need to add something to it, we can. But it's pretty clear cut, and it is based on some pretty sound principles. So I think you would be very pleased with what you, find therein. Next is section 3. If we can go to the, section 3 is going to be the annual operating and capital budget, which has, broken down by department. Mr. Rolfe, go ahead.
So page 27, office of the city manager. So in the interest of time, it's already 11 o'clock, I'm not gonna go through this line item by line item. But this is just the first rollout of the budget to y'all. If y'all could, take this home with you, read it, pepper us with questions if you want at any time. If there's anything jumping out at you, I'm gonna go through this pretty quick. If anything jump out at you, just let me know. So here's office of city manager, budget's in line, nothing, out of whack about it. One of the things I've done, is I've eliminated, the vehicle. You don't give the city manager a vehicle, so we've eliminated maintenance of vehicle, we've eliminated, motor fuel, we've eliminated, buy a vehicle, and I've included in here a vehicle allowance of $6,500 a month.
I'll press into that. We have a vehicle.
The vehicle, well, in my contract, it called for me to have a car, and the car that, was allotted to me is frankly, after I talked to Ms., I never took possession of the vehicle. Okay? And the vehicles and condition that, Chief Austin says is really due to be,
Surplus.
surplus, okay? So, I've been using my own personal vehicle for both government and, government and personal use with a gas card, which was all enumerated in my contract. But there's just let me finish. I've heard some discussion, should we put in for a new vehicle, administrative? I didn't want to take money out of the pot to do that. This is just a proposal to do an allowance rather than buy another city vehicle. It's just food for thought, it's a cheaper way of doing it. You can either just do it by car allowance rather than, you either can do it by car allowance or purchase a new vehicle. I thought this was the most cost-efficient way to do it, and if it's a point of discussion, that'll be fine. There's more than one way to skin a cat.
Because what I'm looking at, right, is $6,000 per year. If you divide it by 12, that's $500. We have a next car there, we're paying, we're paying insurance on that car anyway. So, I propose to buy a car, $500 a month, is buy a new car, that's more money than paid per month fee. Transfer the insurance over that car, you donate that car out.
So what we'll do is investigate and get back to you what a new car would cost, which is a cheaper option. He's indifferent which one it is.
Yeah.
And we just think this is cheaper. If you could, look at the travel and education, this will be a theme for everybody, pretty much that it does travel and does education, council members, mayor, and city manager. It was $4,000 for a yearly travel budget and $2,000 for, education and training. So that was the number we picked. If y'all want a different number, y'all can put it in there. That'll be consistent throughout the budget, 4,000 and 2,000. Turn to the next page. I won't, go over that page 29, the city clerk's budget. You can see, it was in line with the 29 budget, it's in line with the 29 actual, the 19 actual, the 2020 budget is in line with it, in line with the 19 budget, the 19 projected actual. I don't think there's anything to talk about there unless y'all want to. Page 30. IT technology is a brand new department. You can see what his proposed budget is.
I need to interject, part of why you're gonna see it higher this year, I'm still calling for $15,000 worth of, professional services. That's because as we transition, number one, the fiscal year starts, as soon as we adopt this. Until we hire an IT manager, we're gonna need to hold Liberty on, and as we transition away from them, we're gonna need them for transition period. So I put 15,000, that may be a high number, to hold them long enough to hand the baton off to the new IT person. But it may not go that high, but we're certainly, in years going forward, we'll have less than that. We won't have the need for professional services. The other thing I want to point out about, when you have an IT technology, IT manager, you prevent what plagues many governments, and that is when one department head says, I want to buy this software, and I want to buy this platform, and I want to buy this, the other one comes and says, I want to buy this platform. And then guess what? We end up spending money on software that doesn't integrate, doesn't speak to each other, doesn't transfer data. And that's already plagued us. Just as I was coming in the door here, we got Encode with Paycom, and they don't communicate with each other. And it's maddening. When you have a IT person that can centralize your purchases, you don't make these kind of software mistakes. And you get a streamlined process that's more efficient. All right, go ahead, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, sir. Human resources is next. It's less than, 19 budget, and less than projected 19 actual. Nothing really to report there. Page 32, community development. It's, in line with the 19 budget, slightly more than what's projected for the 19 actual. This 19 actual, I would like y'all to know that that number is not a hard, fast number. It's the best we could get to at the period of time. When we close out the budget 9/30, and you hire a new CFO, hopefully we'll get more accurate numbers for what the actual is. Our issue was things were posted to different accounts, not always the right account. We had time trying to figure out where things were posted.
I do want to point out one of the reasons why you'll see that the FY20 budget's calling for less money than the 2019. I'm calling for this community development director position. You all approved it, and it was filled in the 2019 at $90,000 a year. I frankly want to hire our city planner, who's here part-time, at $82,500. Given her qualifications and certifications, which are superior to anything that this city has ever had before, we're gonna have less reliance on outside contract professional services. That's why you're gonna see a drop in it. We're gonna be able to save money. I remember one of the first things Mr. Byrd told me, when we talked about this discussion, our reliance on outside contract services such as Safe Built to do all our inspections and plan review. Ms. Moore has the capability to do a lot of that, and a lot of it we've been farming out also to Whitley Engineering to do a lot of plan review. We won't need to do that. I also, as a side note, point out to you that, I've assigned Ms. Moore to start working on a review of our permitting fees and things like land disturbance fees and, some of our commercial plan review, which I think we need to all bring in-house. And some of those things, services we have not been charging for, which we should have been charging for, especially subdivision, plat, review, which is, if we're gonna fully enforce the tree ordinances and the things that y'all have passed in the past, which were good, like subdivision grading, I was very pleased to see that the city of Hampton does not allow developers to come in here and just turn a subdivision into the dark side of the moon, okay? But for you to truly enforce it, you have to have someone of Ms. Moore's qualities and credentials on staff to be here and inspect it and enforce it, your ordinances. And we've been having to rely on outside contract services to do it, and this is, not the best way to go. And we'll be able to do that in this budget.
And you'll see that professional services and contracting services, those are the professionals you mentioned, Whitley, and what's the other name of those called?
Safe Bill.
Okay, thank
And
you for
then,
that.
you're welcome. And then, down at the bottom, there's a growing theme, there's a consistent theme throughout the budget. You see capital outlay computer, really every department wanted a computer. The proposal, city managers, we're gonna consolidate that. We have consolidated the capital outlay budget, but every department that needs a computer will go through IT. And the IT will bundle it all together and then bid it out, get economies of scale, get back to page 33, page 34, Main Street coordinator. Couple things to highlight on this is, there's 10,000 in advertising, 25,000 in events, 45,000 in seasonal streetscape decorations, 50,000 transferred to DDA. You could talk about that also.
Now, the DDA, this money would not transfer absent an IGA. Now, it has been pointed out in past audits that, that there has been some problems with the DDA budget, and frankly, that there needs to be a tight IGA, which I don't believe there has ever been one. If it has, it hasn't been strictly adhered to. This city needs to be able to audit the books of the DDA. I think that this money being transferred would be for a specific purpose, which should be enumerated within the, context of that IGA, to pay for, legal services and, financial advisor services, to oversee their books, make sure that their books are cleaned up, make sure that their books are actively reported to this city, and advise them on proper bonding strategies to help them attract businesses and help revitalize the downtown business district. So this isn't just a transfer of money, you know, with no strings attached. It would not transfer absent action by this council and the DDA board, and for that specific purpose. I would also like to note, you can see that there's a drop in this budget from what was budgeted in 2019 of over $100,000 overall, to be able to accomplish those things and yet put some meaning between the relationship with the DDA and the city council.
You can see there's a whole lot less up there in salaries. You talk about the 45,000 in seasonal, those were catch-all. You don't know what you're gonna spend, you put that in something.
Well, that was a carryover from previous year's budgets where they talked about, it helps with the overall downtown streetscapes where they wanted to have, what has been described to me by staff and what was requested, like for the Christmas season, you put out holiday decorations and, that sort of thing. So we don't know exactly how much all that's gonna cost to get those banners done. They have not been bidded yet, we'll have to put that out, but that's our best estimate without overloading and putting too much money.
Next page, page 35, the police department. I don't think anything sticks out. There's no new employees in the police department. We'll talk about capital. There's some equipment that we're buying capital for the police department, but in their operating budget, that nothing really sticks out as anything that comes to your attention.
Hold on,
Yes?
the personal vehicle, I need in the budget like 2 cars to be purchased for the police department.
So we have that in the capital outlay budget.
Okay.
We're getting to that.
So there's a big theme about it, operating, like salaries and stuff. The capital will be in 3 budgets, SPOS, capital outlay, and capital grants.
Okay.
And there are 5 vehicles in the budget. This is for court, nothing big sticks out there that I can see. 181,000, it's in line with last year's budget of 210. Next page, Public Works Department. Yes, sir? Yes. On page 37, Public Works Department for facilities, this is sort of a catch-all thing in the general fund budget. Remember, in the thing, you got enterprise fund, which is water, sewer, and electric, and you got general fund, which is taxes. Well, there's certain things for facilities like this building, City Hall, maintenance and things that go, so you see there's no salaries really for facilities, but there are things that we pay for, like repairs and maintenance to the various buildings. I think the depot would be in this fund here, and, it's an odd quirk that y'all do, and we continued it on in the budget. Maybe Mr. Byrd, who's been in the longest, y'all charge yourself electricity. So there's $169,000 in there for electricity. And so you're just taking money out of one pocket, and put it in the other. Y'all- Yes, sir.
You mentioned there is no salary, but is overtime considered salary?
That deals with part-time, it's listed as, it probably is a drop-down, should have been under temporary employees.
Right.
That's just a misprint right there. And, yes, it should have been in overtime, should have been up on part-time. Okay? Because what we do is we have part-time, janitors come in and help clean up, so, thank you for catching that.
Page 38, streets and highways. There's gonna be a lot of paving, a lot of capital projects in streets and highways, it's gonna be in another budget. This is the operating, 530 was the budget request in 19, 395, we think's been spent year to date. We've got a $437,000 budget. City staff and John poured over this hard, a couple hours, and, we think it's right and accurate, and there's nothing of a major report that we have to report to you. Page,
President, keep to 38. It's the, GPS training. Are we using, in the past, we're paying this money out, and they're not using the GPS. Are they using GPS right now?
Yes, it's active now on Public Works.
Thank you very much.
Page 39 is the Parks and Rec. Notice there's no regular employees, part-time to Parks and Rec, and, nothing else sticks out, something that, again, with this fund is paying electricity and water and sewer, back to the interest. Next page is capital projects. Boss?
Here's the, on the capital projects, we've split them into, categories, which you'll find over pages 40, 41, and 42. And if we, decided to separate them so that they could make some sense in prior lists, they were kind of all mingled together, and we wanted to add some order to them. So we chose the categories of community facilities, public safety, streets and stormwater, and utilities. And then on the page 42, you'll see 3 categories: parks and recreation, economic development, and park facility and recreation development. The columns that you'll see are if they've been assigned a project number, that means it was already in play.
then the years that are expected to be dealt with, and what the new cost estimate is. And I want to point out something that, and I don't know if we have a slide. Rashida, did you get a slide, ready on SPLOST 4? If not, I just want to give you some high point numbers. You've been seeing these lists for a number of years now. A large portion of it was based on the projected revenues to be collected by SPLOST 4. One of the things that came to light, and was, that Mr. Wall and I caught when we were in negotiations with the Henry County Administration and Board of Commissioners over SPLOST 5, was that their projections were off as opposed to what real collections were. They've been telling the folks that we're going to collect $40.5 million per year in SPLOST revenue, when in fact, you've only been collecting countywide $36 or $36.5 million. So you've been under collecting for about $4.5 million countywide, which means that the city budgets and revenue collections to this point have been less than. I'm pointing that out to you to keep in mind that when you voted, when citizens voted on the budget, the city of Hampton presented what's called Exhibit 2. This was your proposal that was put forth by this city in 2013. And it had in it 6 categories. Roads, bridges, sidewalks, transportation was category 1. Public safety facilities and equipment, 2. Public works and facilities and equipment was category 3. Construction, renovation, of municipal buildings, 4. Parks and recreation facility, 5. Community development facilities, category 6. Each of them had a number associated in the far right column. It totaled $7.275 million. That was a hoped-for number. We have under-collected. So what I had to do was go back in and readjust these budgets downward and try and do it proportionally in such a way that made sense, that still reflected the will of what y'all had voted on in the past, what you had hoped for in the past, but also to tell you the stark reality that you're not going to have money to do everything you thought you were, or to as grand a scale as you previously thought. So this part of the budget was the second most hand-wringing and put more gray hairs in my head than I had before. This is the second toughest part of what we've had to do. So what you see in front of you, and we'll go through this right quick, I want to show you what the new cost estimates are. The phone system upgrade, we just got through with that. We're going to fund that out of SPLOST. It was originally budgeted at $117,000. We're bringing it in at $75,000. City Hall upgrade, you had much higher numbers in there before. I'm downgrading it to $200,000. Now these are just best estimates. Once we start going to bidding, we may be able to save money in one and move it, transfer the money to another account. So these are just my best estimates right now based on the reduction. I had to reduce everything by about 36%, okay? The Fortson Library, Catherine Williams Center, I'm setting it at $250,000. The Glenn Mitchell Train Depot roof repair. Now, everybody's gonna get ulcers over it, and I'm telling you, you're gonna get a presentation coming forward, but the fact of the matter is, y'all spent a bunch of money to remodel a depot, underneath a leaky roof, okay? Now, I'm sorry to just, might as well put the smelly fish on the table, that's what happened. I'm sorry. I gotta fix it now. We got a leaky roof, it's gotta be fixed, and it's not gonna be an easy fix, because what's on there now is some pretty lightweight, light grade, structurally weak tin that was not designed for a roof of that magnitude. It was not designed for a roof that had the trusses that far put apart, okay? And then you sprayed foam insulation on the underneath, the inside of it, and it hadn't stopped the leak. is all it's done is create a haven for mold to grow. So we gotta fix it. That's why I put that number out there. It's not pretty, but that's where we're at. I put $150,000 to upgrade the municipal court, to provide the court facilities. We're gonna need to put some soundproofing in there. We're gonna need to upgrade some of our technology. I don't know how much that's gonna cost. It might be a little high. I think that's an area we'll be able to come back and, deal with. We had $175,000 as a carryover from prior years. It was on your list. It was go towards a community center. $50,000 for downtown, beautification. We've already begun that process. You see all the mulch that's been put out already. This will continue, and we'll finish with that. We have listed here, this was a request we put in Hampton High School Community Partnership, where will help them purchase $25,000 worth of embroidery equipment, and, so that they can, participate in learning job skills, and they would in turn do the embroidery and work on city uniforms for free with the equipment that we're investing in it. That was a request that we put it in there, and that's how we're proposing to fund it.
It is possible that you can, council agree, to have also, the middle school and the, elementary somehow, some kind of partnership with them.
Well, we can discuss that. I mean, I think the best thing to do is to just digest. I'm telling you what this budget covers, and if you have thoughts like that, you want to counter them, we can, we're certainly open to them. And then we can talk about it and adjust it at the next meeting. We're gonna have 2 readings, right? So we're gonna have the October 8th and October 15th. There'll be time between now and then to make those fine-tuned adjustments. Public safety equipment. Also, if you look on the very far right side of the column, it'll tell you where we are progress-wise. By the October 8th, every project that is complete will be highlighted, so it won't be distracting. I mean, it'll draw your attention to it, get away from it at the same time. It'll show you that we're done with it. Purchase of the vehicles, which you'd asked about earlier, Mr. Mitchell. You can see here for police vehicles, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to pay for it out of SPOS. The cameras, more cameras in the server, the $30,000 that Chief Austin requested for, we're going to pay for that out of police impact fees. That's on the list. You see that? We worked really hard to accommodate every request that was proven to be legitimate, and I got to commend the department directors. I've been doing this a long, long time, and either they're the most honest folks or they're the most trusted, because I've dealt with a lot of department directors. They come in and they put in a big Christmas list, and they add in a bunch of fluff, and they think you're going to cut half of it, so they add extra fluff, but that was not the case with our department heads. They understood the reality of what we were dealing with, and they came in with a bare bones minimum, and they said, this is what we need, this is what I need, and they articulated. I made them to prove to me that there was a legitimate need, and they did. Category 1 roads improvements, I'm having to adjust this one downward to $1.4 million to SPOS to reflect the reduction in collection. The equipment that you see next, that's complete. I'll skip over the complete ones. I'll only highlight the ones that haven't been. West Main Street water main replacement. That's going to be tied to the West Main Street widening and bike path. Mr. Wall will have to keep and explain to you a little more in detail. Everybody's been thinking if we get CDBG grant money, that's free money. We got to spend the money up front to get the reimbursement. Now, part of we got to move the water main, because the water main on that street runs down the middle of the road, which is part of an archaic infrastructure that we have. It doesn't make any good walking around sense to put your water main right down the middle of the road, but that's the way it was done back in the old days. Now, if your water main goes bad, you get a water leak, you got to plow up the road to fix it. Now we're going to move the main over into the right of way, so that's part of that project. That's $200,000. We're putting $300,000 that we're going to get. We'll get reimbursement. That will be shown in the different funds. You see all the other projects. You can see as they go. I won't go through them bit by bit, because that will take too long. One, the two big ones I do want to point out, if you go down to utilities, well number 9, well development number 9, we want to pay for that with water impact fees. The reports are back, our engineering firm has done the testing, you all have entered into an agreement to purchase land, to do the land, to do the well. That's reflected in this budget. The land purchase is $30,000, we had a $1,500 option, we completed the surveys, the well is viable. We can add well number 9, that doesn't mean we have 9 wells. Wells 1 through 5 have run its course and are out. We have wells 7 and 8, this will become the 3rd well, we have 6, 7, and 8, this will become number 9 if we do this. So the cost you see there will be to pay for the land, put in the well, and we're gonna add a security system this time. So when the well runs low, the pump will automatically cut off, so we won't get cloudy water, and Miss Bodie's phone blows up, and then Miss Bodie blows, Alex Cohilas' phone up on the weekend about cloudy water, and we won't burn a pump up, okay? So,
To be clear, the well that we received, something we gotta say amen to. We receive a new well and produce more water.
if we produce more water, we're less dependent upon Henry County Water Department, which we're gonna get into that later about part of our threat analysis and what's been going on. The belt press, we approved that budget. You'll see that as $625,000, that work, that's a custom design job, and that construction on that or installation on that's gonna be taking place in the next few months. The rest of it you can see, when you get to capital projects on page 42, we put a lot in parks. We have had complaints, I know Mr. Brown has the unique ability to send me emails at 11 o'clock at night, sometimes on into 1 in the morning. He doesn't sleep well at night. He decided to send me some, and he's found out that I'm a bit of a night owl like he is, so we exchange emails at night. He sent me pictures of the condition of our parks, and there's legitimate need to do some infrastructure upgrade. There was a presentation by a young man back in May who came and talked about the condition of our skate park, and it needed to be fixed. I've put money, if you see, you've got McBrayer Park renovation, we got parks improvements, we got park site improvements for it. We put a good bit of money. And what's important is that for the first time, all of this ties to the funds that Mr. Wall talked about, and it's all balanced, where this isn't pie in the sky. We've got money to do the stuff that we say we do. The only ones that we're not sure of. Now, if you see a GF, that means it's gonna come from general fund. Now, if you get down, I'm gonna point out the one that is not, when you get down to construct amphitheater at $500,000, it says to be determined. That means we presently don't have funds for that. That was on the prior list. I carried it over. And the fact of the matter is, there's no money for it. Now, I don't know where we're gonna come up with it in the future, but right now, it's not there. Okay? So I'm being honest with you and telling you where it's at.
You could appropriate general fund balance if you wanted to.
Yeah, if you wanna drain it down, but, I mean, you're gonna have to identify land and do all that. So, I didn't wanna get into that. Mr. Wall's now gonna take over and explain to you, picking up on page 43.
So the rest of this will be enterprise funds, these are the water, sewer, electrical. There's a catch-all fund that Millie Shaw put together last year called the Enterprise Financial Services. There were a lot of work from folks at City Hall to collect the bills, spend time on the enterprise fund, and your general fund was paying for it. And the largest revenue in the general fund is local option sales tax, $2.5 million. And so it's appropriate, remember, fund accounting, to have each fund stand on its own. And so look at the second line item on page 43, it says salary reimbursement to the general fund. This budget takes half of the city manager, half of the new finance director, that new accountant position we're talking about, and half of the 2 executive assistants, It has,
Public Works.
In public works.
that's all, that's a hundred percent. So half the city manager, half the finance director, the new account position, and half of the two executive assistants are paid for out of the enterprise fund. So you can see here, it transferred to the general fund for that amount. And that's just, generally accepted accounting principles. And it's having each fund pay for what's appropriate to pay. Now look at the enterprise financial services, these are other accountants in the finance department, and their time, dedicated to nothing but collecting utility bills. Next page, page 44, is the public works. This is different than streets, and highways, different than facilities. So this is public works. You can see regular employees in public works. At the bottom, you see purchase of equipment and capital outlay is zero. That's because we're paying for all of the capital items out of your capital fund. This is just nothing but operation. I don't think anything else jumps out. Page 45.
So how are we funding the seasonal workers in public works?
Out of this operating budget. So there are some seasonal workers in parks and recs, if I recall, and, there are two kinds of public work. There's a public works that's over in the parks and rec facilities. Here you have, no temporary employees. In the budget, there are some temporary employees, but I think they're paid for out of parks and rec.
Okay.
Is that right? That's right. That's
Okay, all right.
So you're moving the, software service to the IT department?
Yes. And, there's janitorial, which is part-time, that's paid out of parks and rec.
Okay, trying to.
Page 45, wastewater. You can see here, I don't think anything stands out big. Sludge removal was a big line item, 53,000. It's a little bit more than, the 2019 budget or the 2018 actual, but John really thinks it's the right number, so we left it in there. There's supplies for wastewater system down there, 30 grand.
Is there no way to generate revenue from sludge removal? I'm just thinking right now, like down in Locust Grove, we have that fertilizer plant that's down there. Do they not use sludge?
I don't know the answer to that, but I'll be sure to call Tim Young, the city manager, and find out. If he's finding a way to make money off the sludge, I'm gonna find out. But I'll ask him, I'll ask him.
I do know that, it used to be, there was this big, push to spread it out over sidewalks.
Right.
Years ago, I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's a good idea. I'll certainly make a call.
Going further, the, technical service computers, is that, do you think that 3,000 to be transferred to the IT department? Because they're the ones that be in charge of all the computers and make sure the things are operational.
Is that the $3,000 line item you're talking about?
Since the like IT department exists, I think they.
Yeah, we didn't catch that. Good pickup. That's where it ought to transfer to. Yes.
Let me ask something.
Yes, sir?
When we have parks and rec and their budget and all that, we have the concession stand down there, we sell stuff. Where does that money go? It's on the parks and rec.
Miscellaneous revenue.
It goes to your miscellaneous revenue.
So we, in the general fund, there's a line item for miscellaneous revenue, that's where the revenue from concession stand goes. Page 46, water. You can see regular employees, temporary employees, the biggest lick in water down at the bottom is purchase of water, 753,900. Well, you want to highlight, look at 18, it was 535, and then 19, it's 637, now 753. The Henry County Water and Sewer Authority has increased their rates to y'all nearly every year. Y'all ain't had a rate increase now on the wind, it's been absorbed. At some point, that dog ain't gonna hunt no more.
I wanna point that out and just, and then segue, put a pin in this. I've asked the clerk to do research,
and she's completed research and did this report. And it's pretty interesting, there was an ordinance 288 that was adopted on January 18th of 2018. States the water and sewer rates should be fixed by resolution of the mayor and council. And it was been a practice that automatically, every single year that the Henry County upped their rates, that we automatically instituted the rate increase to keep in line with. Keep in mind, we buy 85% of all water from them. And, on January, they passed a resolution. Then, sometime in October 1, 2013, then City Attorney Mayfield advised the council that they could suspend the automatic pass-through of increase of water rates by way of a motion, which was in direct violation of what the previous city attorney had said, or contradictory, I shouldn't say violation, it was contradictory to what was prior determined by a previous city attorney. Now, the motion was made that year and seconded to suspend water increase, which was scheduled for November 2013. But it was supposed to suspend for 1 year. Sometime on October 14th of 2014, there's an excerpt from the minutes of that meeting which says during the city manager's report, it was stated that water rate increase goes into effect November 1, 2014. But yet, according to the minutes, no vote ever took place. However, there has been no rate increase. We suspended it in 2014. In 2009, there was no rate increase. 2010, there was a rate increase. 11, there was a rate increase. 12, there was a rate increase. 13, there was a rate increase. In 2014, this council voted to suspend it for 1 year. It came back in 2015. There is no record anywhere in the file as to why it was suspended in 2016, 2017, 2018. There is no official record of action by this mayor or council that I can find to date which will justify why there was no automatic increase, which had been the prior practice as stated by resolution. I have no explanation for that. It's also important to know that we even have a contract. There was a contract that was signed with this city and council with Clover Ranch, it's mobile home park. They're on a major master meter. Okay? They're one of our biggest accounts. And it says that that contract need not be amended, that every single time there's a rate increase, it'll automatically pass through. We didn't pass through. We have treated commercial accounts the same way we have treated residential accounts. And we have suspended them. Okay? Now, just give you some numbers. I had our ladies in the back pull for analysis purposes. You have on your sewer charge. I remember when Ms. Bodie first brought it to my attention, how high her sewer surcharge was. Okay? Now hers is a little bit higher, but other folks, I average anywhere from $15 to $20 a month on sewer surcharge. You could have dropped the sewer surcharge, and passed on the 6% increase, and you still would have had a net reduction on their utility bill of about 60%. But it didn't. Furthermore, you treated commercial clients the same way you did residential, and you didn't pass through. You could have chosen to continue that increase. Your largest account holders are the Henry County School System. They're your biggest water account. The FAA Center. Yeah. Okay. This mobile home park. Those rate increases have not, so we are gonna have to address it, so I'm just telling you what the state of affairs are.
I really want y'all to pass it along, it's an appropriate thing to do. Every time you get a rate increase, just pass it along.
Because you keep getting deeper and deeper in the hole. The only thing that has sustained this city thus far is that there was a lockdown agreement not to go up, with ECG, as far as your electrical, buying electricity, that stays in effect till 2026. But the Henry County Water Authority operates their God and government unto themselves, and they do what they want.
So I have two fears for y'all as going forward, is a recession, because $2.5 billion of your budget comes from local option sales tax. So sales tax gets affected big time in the recession. And Plant Vogtle, the new units in EMC, if they have to go back on their, renege on the agreement, start raising rates on the electric. So,
From my understanding, every business that can get an increase in cost, they pass it on to the consumer. All business operate that, but now, we got a rate increase, but we absorb it, we're not passing it on. That's what I'm getting?
yes. And
How
so,
long has it been going on?
it says,
It had gone on 16, 17, 18, and nothing's been put forward on that. I cannot find any rationale. I don't know under whose order it was suspended. There's nothing in the record. Ms. Brooks can attest. She's been digging and digging and digging for the past week, okay? I gave her that assignment. She has worked diligently. She cannot find anything in the records that there was official action prior to, prior to 2013, 2008, and 2008, there were, it's reflected in the minutes.
but still it was up and down.
Yeah, but it was up and
For no
down.
reason.
Yeah, they would suspend it sometimes, they wouldn't suspend it others, and it just, in the meantime,
But here's the thing to look
kept
at.
going on.
In 18, the purchase of water was $535,000. This year, we're budgeting $753. So your utility system absorbed $200,000 increase. And you're lucky that you can do that because you've got a profitable electrical system. But if those two plant mobile units keep going up, they keep bringing it on the town line, something they have to give. And so that's why this budget's so important. You're gonna get monthly reports with year-to-date numbers that y'all are gonna be surprised.
Here's another point, excuse me one second, I want to point this out. The reason why we're emphasizing this as far as vulnerability, you don't have property tax. Now, I'm not advocating for it, but you just need to understand what the reality is. Your entire budget is based on the economy. Now, other county governments, school board, municipalities that have property tax, that's your stable portion of your budget. So that if a recession hits and sales tax revenue declines, at least you've got a base acre of property tax around which you can, if you have to close certain things down, you can still perform your core functions of government.
That's another reason why
We
I
don't
love
have
your-
that.
I like your healthy reserve, at $7.5 million, it gives you a cushion. But the thing you need that you haven't had is real-time data on what your revenues and expenses are.
And you know what the millage rate we get?
The millage rate, the interest rate,
No, the school,
this is 20 mils. Page 47, sanitation. Sanitation contract, looks like it's up about 100,000 from 18. Page 48 is the electrical department. This is y'all bread and butter. This thing is wonderful. You see the purchase of electricity was $1,650,000 in 18, and it's budgeted at $2.5 million this year, about a $9,000 increase. When's the last time y'all had electrical rate increase? Is that, have you been absorbing that too, or is it?
No, from what I understand, we're good until 2026. But the problem's gonna be, if we don't address the water issue going forward, it'll end up overwhelming
the electrical side.
And that increase in electrical, they just cost so many, we sold that much more electricity, it's not increasing the unit.
No, I think, well, I think that's reflected in we brought on new homes and more users, that's what's going on.
All right, the next page, page 49 is our SPOS, budget. You see the SPOS, revenues, you see 3.5 million is balance in the bank. We're gonna get 7 more checks from SPOS 4. Page 52, you got 4.8 million to spend. Page 50. Mr. Davis has gone over for you the capital projects. Here it is broken out by fund, so you can see what the SPOS is funding. You already talked about it, I'm not gonna enumerate it. The key thing down there at the bottom, look where there's, I got a CDBG match and an LWCF, it's got something to do with parks. You have to have matching money in order to get those grants. So we're using SPOS money to match that. You'll see the projects reflected in the capital grants fund. Next page, motel tax. This was in keeping with the past, public relations and chamber of commerce. Mr. Davis, I don't really know what all that is, but I guess maybe y'all do. I mean, that's just, we just repeated that budget from the past. According to operational law, in order for you to give money to, like the Chamber of Commerce, you need an intergovernmental contract with them, where they give you a specific service, which Georgia law empowers you to perform, and then you're paying for it. If you're just cutting them a check, and you don't have any kind of contract with them, you violate Georgia law. And there was a big thing, if y'all remember, the CAB several years ago, Lee Mays, and then he hired former Attorney General Mike Bowers to do a report. He found out the commissioners were, in their budget, was giving money to all kind of nonprofits, Meals on Wheels, Parks, Path Foundation, that does bicycle tracks. They were just giving them money, but they didn't have a contract. He said that violates the Georgia anti-gratuity provision. And so it's highlighted for everybody in local government. You give money to nonprofits, you need an actual contract back. So I just highlight that.
I got a question.
Yes, ma'am?
And in that contract, does it spell out like what we will, I know because they are definitely against gratuity. So
It has to.
what we will receive as a city?
Yes, it
Okay.
has to. And I'm assuming y'all have such things, contracts on it. Huh?
I hope the city
We will before any money goes out the door. Budget.
All right, page 52.
So let me ask you, back up a second.
Yes, sir.
Mr. No question.
You guys already violated that. On that. So, is there a history or record of what we've been contributing to organizations without a contract?
It is not complete, but there's enough evidence there, I think there's budgetary evidence that there have been some donations. It's unclear to me whether there was an IGA. I know that Ms. Wiggins and I have been abundantly concerned about IGAs of all sorts and fashion. Starting with the lack of a proper, tight IGA between the DDA and the, city council, concerns about contributions, that have gone out. Frankly, when we got into the SDS negotiations, we found out that a lot of the services that's been provided by Henry County, when I got to ask, where's the IGA that says what you're doing specifically for us, where's it enumerated? And the answer I've been getting is pretty nice, and I'm not saying just hearing it from the Hampton side of it, but from the Henry County side. I just had a conversation with the deputy county operations officer, and Brad Johnson. He said, "Well, Alex, we don't really have an IGA. That's just the way we've always done it around here." And I mean, that's no way to do business.
Well, it violates the law.
Yeah, plus it violates the law, it's a pretty big thing. So, to answer your question, Mr. Brown, I think that there's enough there that we can go back and do a bid. But I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't, I just say, I had enough on my plate. I'll just put it that way for the last 5 months. And, we've chopped through a lot of weeds, and we can continue to chop through them, okay?
Well, my opinion, and this is just my opinion, but I think it's gonna be worth its weight in gold to go back and do that in the interest of transparency to the community and knowing, hey, if we screw up, let's take the hit and move on, this is how we're
Right.
gonna move on forward. But in order to get the trust of the community in that we're handling and managing their money on their behalf, I think that's something, and those are things that we can't just, bypass, it. Okay, that was the past, okay, bump that, we're not gonna deal with that. But that translates to some big money, I'll bet $1 to a dime. That's a lot of money that we have mishandled and mismanaged, on behalf of the citizens. So I think that's something that, it doesn't have to happen now, but I want that to be on somebody's radar to keep tracking that.
Well, I hope that you can see my efforts and the efforts of this staff in putting this budget together has been all about transparency. And I didn't mean anything that I said to indicate anything less than that. I will get to it. My specific, my direct answer to your specific question was that, there is evidence that there have been some contributions that have been made, but I haven't had time to dig and see if there was an IGA existing.
Right.
I can also tell you that in other areas that I have looked for IGAs, none were existing.
Right.
So that's part of the things that I enumerated in my transmittal letter to you. Past record keeping in this place is needed improvement, okay? And we're moving towards that. It's like you said, the tone, I echo the tone and tenor and spirit in which you express yourself, sir. We're gonna find out what we did, we're gonna fix it and move on.
Yeah.
But we're gonna be transparent, we're
Right.
gonna do it.
Yeah.
And that's what this budget's about.
Okay.
So I just wanted to kind of echo Mr. Brown. One of the reasons when I got on the DDA in March of last year, the record keeping was awful. I asked Larry at the beginning of this year, about February, if we're gonna give them any funding while I'm on the board, we need to make sure we have some type of agreement. She did a memorandum of understanding when we gave money this year. She also drafted up a sample IGA that we could possibly look at. So, hopefully we will get that into position.
Well, it'll have to be before the transfer of money goes. I mean, just because I've counted for it in the budget, just because you approve it, doesn't mean the money's going to transfer and leave here unless there's an IGA, which will have to come back. There'll have to be the joint presentation before this council and joint adoption between the DDA council board and this council.
I wanted to say to the board in regards to the DDA as well, it's not just, the IGA that I've asked Larry for is not just tied to money that we're giving them in particular. So, one of the things that, just accountability so that the board is aware of everything that the DDA has going on, if they wanna go in and do an audit, if they want to go in and see the books, all of those things have been asked for in that IGA. So, I did forward that over to, the DDA board in regards to looking at if they have an attorney, and their attorney will get with our attorney, and they will possibly make a presentation.
Can I say this, they need to do an annual budget.
They,
If fiscal year
so-
7 is yours, they need to do it.
I was gonna say, so this year, we did have an annual budget there as well, so.
Can you send that to me?
Yes.
Thank you. I'd like to make it part of this document.
That would go a long way, and, when we wrap up, I would like for you to talk about the certification that we'll be able to obtain, the quality, the standard that we're seeking to achieve.
Yes, sir.
With this, go ahead and finish.
Yes, so page 52, is the capital grant fund anticipated revenues. Again, you can see the beginning balance, you can see the LMIG grant, the CDBG grant, the ARC, the LWCF grant, and you can see the matches coming in from SPLOST. Then you see the money being spent down there. Next page, page 53, is the capital projects fund. That's, $1,460,000, beginning fund balance. All that's the tap fees and impact fees. You can see, the transfers coming in of the impact fees from the 2020 budget. Things that were estimated in the general fund, that's the police and Parks and Recs, impact fees, enterprise, police donations are handled in this fund, the catch-all, and then transfer from SPOS to make it balance. So this budget, the catch-all, are things that you can't spend SPOS on, the things that you can spend impact fee dollars on, and it was $265,000 short. So we took $265,000 from SPOS, from the things that we could spend SPOS on, to balance this budget. And then you'll see all the projects. And so these three capital projects funds, all of their expense items are on the sheet of paper that Alex Coelho went over with y'all just a few minutes ago. So these is how you pay for it. He's giving you one thing so you know what all the projects are. Next page, page 54. So I got one other thing I want to give you. I need to go over the budget for the mayor. Y'all. Y'all, I say the best for last.
You don't have no physical in here.
So, we've done a lot of things, about the only way we could accomplish it. If you could, Wanda, you put that up on the board, Tom? About the only way we could accomplish this is we had to cut y'all way back. I'm just kidding. So if you would, look at the city council budget. You can see the salaries are the same going across. You can see, travel, that was the theme, of $4,000 per person. Education and training is $2,000. You can see what was spent and, what was budgeted in 19 and what we think was spent in 19. And then, the office of the mayor, salaries are the same. Travel and education and training is the same. This is y'all's budget. If you like it, approve it. If you don't, tell Mr. Lee how you want to change it. And, with that, I can have you see that. Can y'all see?
I thought it was me.
Greg, can you print that out and hand him a sheet of paper?
Which one? This one?
Yes, that one right there. Rick, could we print that out, maybe hand him a sheet of paper? Or sheet it? So I'm gonna talk about it, and we'll try to look at it if we can. So, you see the,
Projected while you print.
I'll talk to you a little bit about this budget. So if you all, think about it, there are 435 cities in Georgia, and I don't know how many cities there are in the nation. Years and years ago, the city's finance directors all across the nation created an organization called the Government Finance Officers Association, GFOA. And they put standardized, policies in place for budgets. They started giving out a certificate of achievement as an award that you got your budget approved for that. And so, when you all, if y'all ever did borrow money, you go to New York for Moody's and Standard & Poor's to get a credit rating. All of us are familiar with Equifax and TransUnion and Experian. Well, for y'all, it was called Moody's and Standard & Poor's. If your budget gets that certificate of achievement, they give you a little bit higher credit rating because that budget's easy for them to read because it's standardized all over the nation. And so this budget document is designed to be submitted to try to get that certificate of achievement. And there are organizations like the CAB gotten it every year since 1974 or something like that. So it's something to aspire to. If you've got a budget, just nothing but Excel spreadsheets and not all this stuff in there, you won't get it. So one of the reasons to go through this pretty book is to get that certificate of achievement. And we'll pitch it to them. We may not get it this year, but we're going to start. And so that's one of the things we're designed to get that and get it every year going forward. And then the audit report. You also get a certificate of achievement for the audit report. You never submitted yours before. And so we're going to try to get a certificate for the audit report as well. The background of that is it's a standardized approach. When I as an investment banker decide whether to loan somebody some money, if I see that it's got that certificate, I know I can trust what's in that audit report, and it's standardized. There's nothing squirrely that I've got to investigate through due diligence further. So we're gonna try to get that. while we're waiting on that, what do y'all think about the book? Can y'all give me some comments? Did y'all done this before? Do you like the process? Do you like what we presented to you? Is it better or worse than that?
It was, like,
This is the first time I've seen one that we really can understand and put some teeth into the thing. I mean, I just wait to see one.
Anybody else?
Still good.
Great. I want y'all to know, yes, sir, Mr. Brown.
This is head and shoulders above anything I've seen for the city council. And I don't care, I'll just put it this way, the details inside of it, if it wasn't even accurate, the layout and the format is spot on from what I've been trained. In all my years of looking at budgets in different capacities, this is what a budget's supposed to look like. So I give you guys a lot of kudos, but to go to the detail of piecing together what was in 17 or 18 and come back and reflect it on what's proposed for 20, you guys did a really good job. I really appreciate that, and I think the citizens are going to appreciate that, because this is something they can look at a glance and see that what your projected spend versus what you have on hand, you're balancing. In each of these, you're balancing, and you still have to surplus in the good reason, so I appreciate that.
Add something to my statement. This is what I say to mention. Our articles that we've been using in the past, I would like for you to consider sending them a notice to their son is no longer needed.
Yes, sir.
you know, I would say that, see the same thing, the mayor council has changed the dynamics of the financial, operation here. We have started from 2018, in a progressive way, going up and better. And you can see that last year's budget was a starting point. Now, this budget now is a different starting point. And we're getting better and better each time we are, the council, we're here today to make these choices for the citizens. So I applaud, the mayor and council, them, and what we have done from 2018 to now, and we're going to different steps. We're going up. We're going forward. That's what we're doing. We're going forward. We're not going backward. And we are appreciative that the council here will vote, and we continue to vote to make the community great.
I just want to say thanks to the staff for the hard work that went into this. I came back a couple of times and the lights were still burning. And that takes a lot of dedication and commitment to making Hampton the best city in the state of Georgia. And I appreciate that definitely, and I think the whole council appreciates that commitment. So thank you.
Thank you.
Stephanie?
So, I just want y'all to know that, me as one of the staff people, he's not the hardest fellow to work for. I have ever worked for in my life. I worked hard before, but he was particularly intense over his budget. I want y'all to know you got your money's worth out of this fella. If I could, go to the sheet of paper that just passed out. You remember we talked about the 22 accounts? We've taken these accounts and lumped them into the fund. We talk about the fund accounting, and so, we're gonna wanna look at all the different checking accounts underneath your general fund. So our goal is gonna try to collapse that down as few accounts as possible. So the operating account ain't earning any interest. Soil and erosion, we'll wanna talk about why is that separate, and does it have to be separate? And we want it to earn interest. Actually, the asset spending forfeitures, I think that's probably gotta be held separate, but I don't know. Main Street checking, $5,400. Nobody knows why that's out there, what it's for. It looks like it'd be collapsed into the operating account. The Hampton Municipal Court fines and forfeitures, I expect that's got to be separate. The money market, $913,000, why is that separate? I wanna have that money up with the main operating, all of it earning interest, not just piece of it. The service upgrade, this is, council in the past must have just taken some money and segregated it for a specific project. Every project we know that you want we've got it in the budget being funded by either SPOS or impact fees or grants. So my proposal to you is to take all of that and collapse it up into the operating account and make it an unrestricted reserve. I don't know why it's being restricted. Then those certificates of deposit, naturally, we talked about those, we want to collapse those into one account and make them earn interest. So, having said all that, the operating account up there is water, sewer, electric, lost, everything all in one. So I'm thinking about asking the city manager to bust it maybe into two and have one operating for your general taxes, the general fund, and one, and have an operating down here on the enterprise. And so, but I don't know, so we're having to see if, whoever we hire as your new finance director, I don't know how that works, you hire them, they hire them?
No, I mean, I do the interview and then I'll present it, they have to get council approval.
Okay, so when y'all hire a finance director, they're gonna have input in this. And so, when they have a really good, competent finance director has one operating account, and just on their computer, they bust it out. But you gotta have a really good record keeper. And so if you have two different accounts, it's like wearing belts and suspenders. You don't make a mistake and wind up spending money you ain't supposed to spend. And so, for a lot of small cities, I recommend they have separate accounts as a safety mechanism that they don't wind up spending money. But if we hire a really good finance director, they may have one, so they'll have input into that. But no need to have 22.
Are you sure it's 22?
Yeah, I guarantee it's you. Yeah.
No, I'm gonna just address it. I'm absolutely positive, because I had to get my name signed on to it. One of the things that, you know, I have ultimate fiduciary responsibility for the actions of this city. When I came on, I did not even have signatory rights for 3 months on these accounts. So when I went back in and started digging and finding how many accounts there were so many administrative flaws. I don't know who Tommy Ingram is. I don't know how many city managers he was ago. I know he was a city manager.
Yes.
But I don't know how many city managers ago that was. But his name was still on about half a dozen accounts. Now, those type of errors happen because of high turnover and falling through the cracks and lack of security and proper administration. And that's what happened. So I know there's 22 accounts because I've been scouring them for months and months. Now, we've nailed this down, and everything that you've been presented today is 100% accurate. It's been checked, verified. We've even had the bankers come here, and we have gone there. So it is, there's 100% transparency. We've corrected the flaws and the errors, and nobody's on a bank account that don't need to be on a bank account.
I'm not saying, what I'm saying is, last time I heard was 18, 22, so I wanted to go like 35, right?
Yeah, no, we're done.
Let me ask you, how many different names for all those bank accounts that doesn't work here anymore? How far they go back?
Well, Tommy Ingram was one, Mr. Coney was still on some, there was another fella, I don't even know, we also had some accounts, I'll just be straight with you, there were some accounts that had a different username and password than the others. And, that's about right, there's different username and password, so we have standardized them on. Ms. Atwater went with me, and we addressed all those issues, in both banks. We're digging into it. I'm not saying anything inappropriate or something, I'm just telling you, for you to have consistency, and for you to get accuracy, you need, and what we've established now is a standard username and password. And then we've set up some sub-accounts, so when the new CFO comes in, so that if there's a transfer of money, you'll be able to see exactly who's logged in and who's done what. So it's all traceable.
Well, I'm concerned, what I was thinking about is, you say username and password on some account.
Right.
Username. is what I'm looking for. Can you give them that?
Well, I don't remember all of them, but there were some that were tied, just to. the
When you
city
go back
official.
and refresh your
Yeah.
memory, I'd like to know.
Okay.
Well, and then if I could, get everybody to look in at the down at the capital projects fund, you see the enterprise stuff. So I wanna relabel the accounts and make them the fund that they're supposed to be. And so, one thing we discovered, when y'all in the city get a utility bill, it's one bill. It's got electricity, it's got, water and sewer, sanitation. So, y'all look right here under the enterprise fund, the sewer debt relief. That would be on your utility bill, that sewer surcharge. And so how does the finance department deposit all that stuff to the right account? And, we found out that, like, if you got in, 250 checks one day, somebody would manually enter all that stuff in and say, here's the sewer charge on these 250, and they'd add them up. And let's say that it was $80,000 worth of checks, and the sewer surcharge was $17,200 total. They would count out different checks and get as close to that $17,200 as they could get, and then take that to the bank and deposit and put the rest of it over here.
Oh, wow.
And so, that's just the best way they've done it. Somebody had been taught them that way to do it all the time, and so the appropriate thing to do is put all of that in an operating account and then make a journal entry of the exact amount over to the sewer debt relief fund. And so, that's why we have in your book these policies about how to handle cash. And then we want to set up these chart of accounts, they call it, where each fund's got its own right fund, and everything's in there and it's transparent. Any city council member or citizen can walk in with open record request, say, how much money y'all got today, where is it? I mean, it was all over the lot, and now you're gonna have, all the money was there, you can tell, and y'all got a great $7 million in the bank. It's a wonderful thing, but it's been hard to account for down to the penny. This is all designed to help you get that done.
Yeah, you want to talk about it. We have one more, presentation that I need to include as part of this budget, because it was a driving force. The gentleman's been patient, Ms. Atwater's become nervous, as my end of it has gone a little bit more than I had told her it would, and I'll take the blame for it, but, she's a good Christian woman, and she's forgiving in nature. She's going to, I'm gonna let Ms. Atwater, you have a presentation, you have a sheet, a fact sheet in front of you, has to deal with the insurance, increase, and if, Ms. Atwater, if you would come to the table, please, and introduce your insurance representative.
Okay.
I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Do your explanation.
You have a sheet of those? We have no.
You should have, I'm sorry, the sheet, make copies, okay. I'm sorry, I apologize, I thought the copies had been made for you.
Okay, good afternoon to the council members and fine citizens that have shown up on this fantastic Friday. What we're about to present to you won't take too long. There was a slight increase in the insurance rates this year. And, I've taken the liberty to ask Matt Bidwell from MSI Benefits on the board and kind of break out with a deeper discussion as to, how that was derived, if you could come forward. Matt Bidwell with MSI Benefits. MSI manages, there are benefit brokers for Cigna.
Thank you so much. If you don't mind, I'll stand because of two reasons. One of them sitting. Number two, I don't hear very well. I can sneak closer when y'all say something to me. But thank y'all for having us. We've been working with the city for a number of years, and there's normally another gentleman here, and he got trapped down in South Georgia, and so I'm here taking over for him. My name is Matt Bidwell. I'm with MSI Benefits. What's up on the screen, you'll soon have a copy of, is y'all's premium history for the last 5 years. And this year is the insurance, initially Cigna, this is the first year renewal with Cigna. We went with Cigna a year ago. And the reason we went with Cigna is I don't know which one of you gals were on council a year ago, but Anthem Blue Cross, who had been out here for a number of years, presented the city with a 25% increase last year. And Cigna came in at 13% below what you were paying. So it's almost a 40% difference in the cost. And I'm gonna get to that in just a second. So, obviously, the change was made to Cigna this time a year ago. Cigna's now had a chance to look at us, and now they understood why Blue Cross was wanting a 25% increase last year. And they themselves initially approached us asking for a 24% increase. They actually released an 18% increase. And as always, what we should do is we took you guys to market, and the best option we had that was in the same format of what you all were doing was Anthem came in at about 15% above current. And so Cigna matched that, and we felt that in the best interest of not changing the insurance around year after year, that it was best to go ahead and accept the Cigna renewal. What I'd like to point out to you is that the Cigna increase that we're getting, yes, it's 15%, but it's less than what we were paying 2 years ago. And this is I think the main reason why I'm glad to be here to speak with you guys is that you all are really kind of in no man's land. You're not small enough to be under the Affordable Care Act, which is for employers that have less than 50 employees. And insurance companies, when they start rating employers, they like to look at what the claims are. So like if we give the insurance company $1 and they pay $1.25 in claims, they're going to want to raise our premiums. It's just, they're out to make money. Well, insurance companies will not stare at those premiums and look at your claims and put much credibility to them until you get at least 100 employees. And we have somewhere right over 50 employees, and we're in a market where our premiums are going to be like on a roller coaster year after year. In the big scheme of things, our annual premium is about $600,000 a year. Normally, an insurance company tries to collect and keep a margin of about 20%, meaning that after they pay all the claims, and after they account for their administration, they anticipate a group paying the $600,000 premium is going to have about $450,000 to $500,000 in claims. The reality of it is you guys last year had over $650,000 in claims, and your premium was around $550,000. Now, I think we've known people who've been sick. You have somebody and you find out that they've had breast cancer, or if you have a heart attack, a claim like that generally can run anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000. And so when you're looking at a premium of about $600,000, what they generally price into it is about a third of that premium goes just to everyday living, which what I mean by that is we're going to have babies, we're going to have employees who are diabetics, we're going to have people who get their gallbladder taken out. You're going to have stuff that happens, but generally what really drives your cost is generally on any group, somewhere around 3% of your members generally will have over half your claims. And what else happens is that your prescription drugs, which if you watch late night TV, if you like the old Andy Griffin shows, all they run are these drug commercials for old people who they know these are the people taking it. Most of those prescriptions run $5,000 to $10,000 a month. When you see a Humira commercial, that's a $5,000 to $10,000 a month prescription. So if you've got one employee who's taking a drug like that, that's $100,000 a year for just one drug. And as a result, where you all are standing right now, you all had about 600,000, a little over 600,000 in claims last year. Over 300,000 of it was for prescription drugs. And that's what really drives the boat. And people, the drugs that are out there, these specialty drugs, they are wonderful drugs because they improve the quality of our life. They keep us from having to have surgery. They keep us out of the hospital. And so I'm not knocking the fact that it's a big drug bill, but in the world that we live in today, what's really driving our costs are the prescription drugs. And that really does need an answer to it. But right now, that's what we have to live with. So while there was a 15% increase, it is less than what we were doing 2 years ago. But I'd like to emphasize that every year, you're gonna be taken to market, you're gonna be aggressively shopped, and, it's some years you're gonna see, you know, more swings than what you see in normal. And I'll be quiet, and Alex, is there anything you want to add to that, or?
No, I just wanted you just to highlight the number of employees that we have. If you can go through the, number of employees we have, I think what he's trying to, enumerate, a disproportionate amount of our bills were tied to a very small number of employees. And that's not the, you know, I mean, that's just reality. Sometimes if you have employees with, serious health issues that are very expensive, that's what drives it. And we are in no man's land. When you have that small pool, you just simply can't absorb it. I came from Clayton County, you have 2,600 employees. The pool was much larger, so, you know, you're gonna have you're gonna have plenty of, in that kind of market pool, you're gonna have plenty of employees that don't use the healthcare system, don't do it, so they can absorb for those. It's teamwork. You know, this year it could be me that has the healthcare problem, and you may not have it. Next year it could be you, and it won't be me. But when you're with a small pool like we are, less than 100 employees, that's why you're gonna have the volatility. I think they've done a great job in going back out to the market, negotiating, to get this down as tight as possible, and say, look at it over a trend. Let's not take this one year as an anomaly, and don't overly punish us for this one year, okay? And that's the real benefit of the work that I think our broker has done, and I applaud his effort.
Well, part of the anomaly is when you go to different insurance companies, all of them use different standards. And when you do the post-mortem, you look back over why Cigna lowered the rate 13% last year. I happen to know that when they go through and they do these analysis, they do look real heavily at the retail prescription drugs, but that doesn't capture specialty drugs. And Cigna did not see the specialty drugs that our employees were taking. And as a result, Anthem did see them, and that's why they wanted the premium they did last year. So we kind of, when you do go to market, you catch weaknesses in what the insurance companies are doing, and that's why we got somewhat of the windfall last year, but it did catch up with us this year because Cigna sees those drugs. And so, you know, y'all got some good premiums here, but I just wanted, you're going to see this just by the nature of who you were. And I'm going to add one more thing. This was in the newspaper, so I'm spouting something that happened. The city of Hartwell had 70 employees, and a year ago, last summer, they canceled their employee health insurance. They had one member taking $1 million worth of prescription drugs, and it was in the newspaper, and they said that they just couldn't afford their insurance renewal because they had, and see, when you have a prescription drug that's costing $1 million a year, and you look at you guys, you're paying a $600,000 premium. An insurance company is going to add that right into what your cost is. And the city of Hartwell canceled their health insurance plan on 70 employees last summer.
This cost increase is just driven specifically by the cost of prescription medicine.
It's mainly influenced by that. About a normal case, your all's group should be having somewhere around $100,000 to $125,000 a year, about 20 to 25% of your premiums. And right now, 50% of your premiums are going to drugs. And it's, you know, it isn't forever.
Right.
But, I mean, there's some just really, really expensive drugs out there, and they do a good job, but it's really a big problem.
The good news is we've been able to account for it in the budget. We knew about it coming up. Ms. Atwater has been working very closely with our broker. We knew what it was going to be. We gave them more time to negotiate, get us a better deal. They did their job, and we found the money to do it and presented to you a balanced budget, which absorbs, which accounts for two things: the increase in insurance benefits and the salary increase. You're to be applauded for your years of dedication, and you know the city of Hampton hasn't always been able to pay the highest salary, but the benefit that you've given to employees by paying all of their insurance premiums has been a great benefit. And that also helps us compete better in the marketplace with other municipalities for quality employees. And as you can see, we're attracting quality employees and we're retaining. And I think, you know, the mayor and council, present and past, for having made that decision, that's laid the foundation. I mean, that's a key employee benefit that helps us retain good employees.
Short of getting in the HIP and all that stuff specific, is there anything that the city can do to help mitigate that? I don't know if there are.
Yes.
Instead of, I don't know the name of it.
This is gonna be a real proud moment for Ms. Atwater to hear me say this. One of the things that we're moving forward to that I would like to see us move forward is instituting a health and wellness program. And, as we continue, she came in a little late to the dance, but one of the reasons why I wanted to hire her is because she's philosophically aligned with me, not only in the areas of diversity and inclusion, but health and wellness is an incredibly important part of that. It helps lower health costs. I know that's what we had in Clayton. And when we get our folks conditioned and we create a culture of health, and we get them conditioned to move towards that, we'll be able to go to a health and wellness program which will generate lower monthly premiums. But there's a process to go through it. I mean, they come out, their signal will come out here, and they'll have nurses, they'll do blood draws, they monitor blood pressure, weight, cholesterol, they'll have an online account for the employees to actually log in there and get nutrition, health, tips. So that's where we're moving toward, and that's directly answering your question. Those are the things that we can do as becoming forward-thinking in our nature, and changing the culture of this place.
Thank you for that. And that would ask that question, what is pretty much benefit from that. But,
Employees look for their employer for wellness programs, they really do. And what we want to teach employees is, it is a cultural thing. My parents never ever got checkups. But my dad never went to a doctor, and as a result, he found out he had diabetes and high blood pressure when he was 60 years old and had a stroke a couple of years later. And so what we want to encourage people is, you know, we have a pension. We want you to be able to retire from here and be healthy and enjoy your time. And so a lot of it's just education, making sure people are getting those checkups. During your 40s is when the blood pressure or the cholesterol and the blood sugars creep up, and it'll destroy your cardiovascular system, and that's why you have kidney issues, major organ issues. You got to catch those cancers early, and we want to preach that to the employees. People are going to do it when they're ready, but we want to make sure that we're educating and encouraging them and creating that culture of wellness among them, because it makes a better employee.
that's one thing I'm pushing for the wellness program in the city, and still on my agenda, and I'm very happy you brought it up, and looking forward to see one day happening.
25% of men nationwide get an annual physical, 55% of women.
My wife pushed me every time.
The men don't do it.
That's why women live longer.
I don't like going to get my annual physical, they always find something wrong with me.
Thank you, sir, I appreciate it. That wraps up our presentation. I trust that, well, you've already expressed it, I'm glad that we've at least met your expectations and exceeded them, I hope. We do plan on, once we adopt this budget, first I want to say this, I'm open, I purposely scheduled this work session well enough in advance of the first public hearing. The work that you see, even with the few typos that are in it, are going to be posted on the website today for public review, okay? Now, I did not print, it costs money to print these nice books though, so, and this is just proposed, okay? But I printed 30 copies, so there's a limited amount of hard copies. I'm gonna have some available, we're gonna leave them here out for the public to come and view here, not for everybody to come and take home with them. the department directors are gonna have a copy, you all will have a copy, and we'll save some from Ms. Wiggins and, other appropriate folks to have, but we're gonna post it. And if someone were to want a copy of it electronically, I'll be happy to send it, is all they have to do is send an email, and we'll send it out, we already have it saved. It's not too big a file, Ms. Moore assured me that it can be sent out electronically and not a problem. We want full transparency, and there's plenty of time between now and the public hearing on October 8th and our first reading, for me to field questions from you between now and then, and, or for you to bring up then, and we'll make adjustments as needed.
One question, I know you've already printed the book, but the 3 additional pages that we were given today, can you have those added to the book? so they're
Oh, yes,
out and
yes,
online?
yes.
I think the changes we got, and, I'm not sure, it's up to you, Bob, I'm not sure if I'm gonna put this in the book, because it's in your transmittal letter, what the account's on.
Yeah.
So
I won't put that page in because that's, no, the page where the hypothetical about how to collapse them, you already have that information formatted differently in the book. This is still a work in progress, and as we hire the CFO, and we go through that, then we'll come back. When we do make the decision on how many accounts to collapse to, I will present that to you. Everything we do, you will know.
We'll add.
But we'll add
the
them.
budgets, the city council will add.
Yeah, we will add that in the, insurance.
I have an alibi, those additional questions. Alibi, I'm Army talk, I'm sorry.
Chief Austin.
Those accounts that you mentioned, and I'm thinking between that and also our request for a forensic audit last year, this time that was approved. Is there any, and I don't know if this is a forum to ask this question, but is there any